Yo everyone, welcome to Amps, Pedals and Pickups. Today we're going to be dialing in a hardcore or moshcore tone on the Fractal FM3, and we're going to be using the amp that I just got here in the background, the digital counterpart. We're going to be using the 6505 Plus, which is also the 5152. Now, when I just got this amp recently, I just plugged it in, strummed an open chord, and it's like instant parkway drive, ghost inside tones. These amps are just absolute beasts. So for the guitar, I'm going to be using this LTD EC1000. It's tuned in drop A sharp. I've got the little groove gear thing here to help out with the strings. The pickups here are the Bareknuckle pickup aftermaths. But let's get into this. I'm going to dial in this patch from scratch. I'm going to be doing a whole series on Fractal Tones where you get to watch me dial things in from scratch. I don't just want to pull up a preset and then you sort of aren't sure what's going on under the hood. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it and dial this patch in. So as we can see, we've got a blank patch here. I'm just going to put the blocks down. I'm not going to touch any of the parameters. So I'll just build this just to show you how it's all definitely coming together from scratch. All right, cool. So we've got the basic patch here. I haven't touched anything, haven't even selected the amp or anything. Everything should be default. Yep, default amp, default cab. I was messing with the amp before, and that's what it came up as. So as you can see here, the 6505 Plus, which is the 5152, is the 6160 Plus lead. I'll leave a link to Yex Guide below because Fractal use different names for things. So Yex Guide for amps is super handy. And when you look at the 6160 here, I want the lead channel. That's the one on this amp, which is absolutely killer. So let's go with that. Everything here, stock value. Let's just see how it sounds. Not bad, not bad. I'm going to leave the amp completely default. I know I'm going to use a drive pedal. I'm going to use an 808, which is selected here, but this is just a typical 808. I'm going to turn the distortion pretty much all the way down. I'll just leave it a little bit. And the main thing here is I want this volume. I want this all the way up. The tone, I'll just leave in the middle. In terms of the actual patch, there's not going to be too much going on here. I would say one of the most important things about building this patch is going to be our IR choice. And when I think in the real world, like those sort of 2005 Parkway Drive, moshcore tones, if I had to pick one cab, it's a very, very simple choice. It's going to be a Mesa 4x12. And if I wheel that bad boy into the studio, there's realistically two microphones are going to be chucking onto it. It's going to be a 57 of some sort to get that brightness, and then it's going to be a 121 to get that body. So that's what I'm going to do, because in the cab block, we can choose two mics here. So let's check out a 57 on a rectifier. So we can see here 4x12 rect. They've got 57s, they've got 121s. So I'm just going to audition the 57. And like I said, I want a brighter sort of sound. So let's just hear how that goes. That's a bit too gnarly. And look, one of the benefits about watching me build a patch is you can see the sort of selections that I'm doing, and realistically, all of these are totally usable. So there's no right or wrong. It's sort of just what sounds good to your ears. But for me, for that bright top end, to me, that sounds good without sort of sizzling out, like something like that. You could definitely make it work. It's just, I like that F sound. So I'm going to lock that in. Let's do that for the 57. Now let's get a more body-focused sound with that 121. A and C sound totally fine. I'll just choose C. Sounds great. Blend them together. Now, in general, I do want this to have more of the 57 sound than the body sound. So I'll just pull this down a bit. That's why I was saying the IR choice is such a huge part of this tone, because to me that the tone's like 95% done now. I think it's really important to choose the IR before you start tweaking around the tone stack, because now I've got a flat tone stack. I can push and pull things the way I want. So now that I've got the IR locked in, the next thing I do is lock in the gain. So the sort of the gain feel to everything. It's actually pretty good now the way it is. Could use a little bit more. It's just a little bit sort of cold sounding to me. When I'm like really digging in, I'm not getting that like. There could just be a little bit more. So I know on the amp, I've got this dialed up to about 7. And honestly, the fractal modeling is so good. I dialed this in 1-for-1 to that amp, and it was very, very close. So I know that it doesn't have to be 1-to-1, but in the same ballpark. So 7 on there, 7 on here. Another thing you can do if the drive is a little bit too gnarly, you can push in the input trim a little bit, and that will help things out. So that sounds good. I might pull the drive down a little. A little bit up, and that should be about. So good. I'm gonna get these noise gates happening. So typical for me, I just go a little bit higher, drop these all the way down, because I want a really fast acting noise gate. So see where the cutoff is. Yeah, it might help if it was on. We'll see where that cutoff is, around there. This front noise gate sort of just helps like the idle sound. So I don't want that happening. That's what this front noise gate will take care of. But for the actual like into chug, that sort of thing, that's where you need this second noise gate. So I'm just going to turn this one on, crank up the ratio, do that. So if you find that you're not stopping in time, juice up that noise gate. I'll drop it all the way down. Just go back to about halfway. So yeah, just there's a little bit of a pause there. I'm just going to go higher on it. It's pretty good. I don't want to choke it too much, but just enough. And the noise gates do affect the gain structure a little bit. That's why I wanted to chuck them in there now. So I might compensate with juicing this back up a little bit more. Oof, we are almost there. That is such a good sound. So let's start dialing in the amp. Now, when it comes to the tone stack of the amp, the first thing I'm going to do is dial up the presence. It's a little bit muffled for me. I do like a brighter sounding amp. That's just the sort of sounds that I gravitate towards. I'm gonna wiggle the presence back and forth, and that's sort of how I tune things. We'll see how we go. That's pretty good for the top end for me. I think that for me, the mids sort of help the single note definition stuff. So I want to hear the way it reacts to those strings. So let's that is just so gnarly. Same thing with the bass. It's lacking a bit, but I'm going to leave the bass down there. One little trick I'd like to do for the bass to get that sort of presence back on the fractal gears, to lift up this proximity a little bit. I'll juice it up and I'll show you like what it does. It really gives it this like simulation of like a cab moving kind of thing. But even that doesn't sound bad, to be honest. I'll take it off. See how it feels like there's nothing there? This probably sounds really good on a recording, but I want a more player's tone. Let's turn the reverb on, stock standard. I will just go to my studio. 20% might be a little bit too much. Yeah, that's crazy. Dial this down, even 2 seconds. I just want a little bit. Practically nothing. I just want it to sound like it's in a bit of a space. All right, you know, it's serious when the strap's on. Let's give this a test with some Ghost Inside riffage. Anyway, there we have it, full Moshler tones. I'm going to upload this to AxeFX. So download it if you want. If you have any questions about tweaking the tone, any questions about dialing your guitar in, let me know. It shouldn't be that hard to get going. It's a really, really awesome sim there from Fractal. Today, don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button. I'll leave the links down below for everything. Have any questions, let me know. As always, thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next one.